Welcome to a new market update, and today we are going to cover the fact that Bitcoin is ready for a big move. The volume is trading away across the markets. We are getting to a climax as all the levels are getting tested as well, meaning that we're getting volatility real soon on the crypto markets. But the question is, which way are we going to go, and what levels should you be watching if you want to define your own trades? That's what we're going to look at in this update. But before we can continue, make sure to subscribe beneath, like this YouTube update, and check out my Twitter and Instagram. Well, actually only my Twitter, as my Instagram is currently deleted because I am an impersonator of myself, which is tremendous. But if you want to follow my content, definitely check out my Twitter, as there I'm posting more related towards trading and setups. Yesterday evening we had a 1970s interview with Jerome Powell from the Wall Street Journal. The guy who was doing the interview really came out of the 1970s, but he was asking some questions regarding the future of the US and the inflation. Not really much news. Powell really wants to see that the inflation slows down and that he still wants to aim for a target of 2% per year. I'm not expecting that to be happening anytime soon, but he wants to see it slow down. And if he's not going to see that, he's going to intensify the actual monetary policy, in which he continues with quantitative tightening, possibly even more hikes happening. What did we see out of the speech? We did see a slight drop. We see it bounce back up. All the sides have been taken out with the stops. Liquidity has been hunted. And the markets are just going to continue, in which the dollar is starting to show some weakness. We have been discussing that scenario. It still looks like we're going to get some more weakness on the dollar. And if we are, we're going to get some more momentum on Bitcoin. So what are the expectations when it comes to the price action of Bitcoin? Well, we have seen a very destructive period in which altcoins have been cascading south. And because of that, the upside is relatively large. However, the closer we get towards the upside levels, or the upper levels which were previously a support and are likely to become a resistance, that's the point where people become bullish, and then the markets are going to turn. So right now, if you want to trade the markets, I think your horizon is relatively short term, in the case that I'm not expecting us to all of a sudden get a V-shaped recovery. I think we should already have been seeing one. But I think that the actual horizon of a trader is maximum a few days to a week, as it's impossible to project what's going to happen next week. So we're going to cover in the levels for Bitcoin in the next chapter, in which we're going to look at the actual breakout that I'm expecting to see happening on Bitcoin and what I'm looking at when it comes to the dollar. So looking at the price action of Bitcoin, it's clearly simple that we're getting into a narrow range. I will cover that in a little bit, but we have been discussing the fact that we are currently in that narrow range. We have been sweeping the lows. We might be watching a potential sweep of the lows at 28.6, in which we get a test at 28.4, and then we could be continuing with a higher low creation and the actual test of 32.8. What do we see more in the current price action? Well, we have been seeing this massive crash, bullish divergence, bounce back up, retest. We also got this higher low happening here. Fake out above the range high, in which we dropped south and now rejected at the previous range resistance, in which, if we technically look at this picture, I would be assuming that we're going to get towards the other side of the range, which is this 28.4 level. That is definitely what I'm looking at, as we have been rejecting here at 30.8. So if I want to scoop up some longs, I think that sweeping 28.6 and getting a long around 28.4 is probably the optimal trade at this point, given that the TA is showing us that we have been rejecting at the range high, and therefore getting a potential fake out on the other side of the range, which is at 28.4. If we're looking at the lower time frames a little bit more, or actually let's look at the DXY first. I've been making this scenario in which we were going to take the previous highs and then we started reversing, which is currently still the case. We have been dropping beneath this previous high, and when we're looking at the daily time frame, we can see that we've got a bearish divergence on the DXY happening as well. So we could potentially be seeing some further downwards momentum, and when it starts to reverse, you can technically speak of a drop that could be happening all the way towards the area that I've marked, which is around 101 points. That could be resulting into continuation of Bitcoin going towards 37-ish, 37k-ish. And from there, we're probably going to get a bounce on the dollar again, and that's going to result into bearish price action on crypto. But if the dollar is continuing the downwards momentum and is continuing the weakness on the yields, that is probably going to result into some price action upwards on Bitcoin and the risk on assets overall. Preferably, what do I want to see when it comes to this? Well, first of all, if we reject at 103.9 or 8, that's going to be very interesting for the markets in itself, as then we are rejecting that previous high that we have been marking here. Then we probably are going to get more downwards momentum, and then we potentially are getting that breakout on Bitcoin that we are eagerly looking for. If we zoom in some more, we have been testing all the levels for Bitcoin, and currently we are in that narrow range, right? So we have been getting a break upwards, we have been rejecting here, we have been sweeping south, in which we were taking the previous high, sweeping that one, turning south, rejecting 30.2, rejecting 30k as well, in which we have been sweeping the low here, and now we get into a narrow range that we didn't really got any breakout from. So in this case, if we sweep the low at 29.6, I think we start continuing falling south even more. So then we're sweeping this one at 29.5 and also the one at 29.3. So this one is a potential low that we're going to sweep, in which I think that if we have a lower time frame bounce, this is the one that I'm looking at 29.3. If that one is lost too, then I'm zooming at 28.4. So technically speaking, those are long entries for me. Also, if we do hold the highs here and we start bouncing back up and take out this high, I'm expecting us to continue moving towards the high at 30.5 and flip here, resulting into continuation. So then this flip is going to be a trigger for a long as well. Short entries, tricky in the case that you can play this short, which is technically just a very tiny scalp, and if we make that breaker up, I preferably want to look for longs. If we break south, we could be playing this short here, in which we target 29.3 and 28.4. That is technically possible. You can also play it on altcoins, of course. But this is the range that we're looking at. It's very tiny in the case that if we squeeze up here, most likely within the next 24 to 48 hours, we're going to get a pretty heavy breakout, resulting into price action. If we look at the higher time frames, I think that if we get that higher low going, it is very natural to expect that we could start continuing taking the liquidity above the highs, especially since the sentiment is still just garbage, in which the majority is eager to short. And I think that if we get into the range of maybe even 34k, that sentiment is going to switch and gives enough credibility to actually make a U-turn again. So the levels that I'm looking at based on the trading experience or based on the PA right now, honestly, I think you should already be into a position. But if you want to look for longs, I think that if we drop south, 29.3 is a small one, and then overall 28.4 or the flip at 30.2 is going to be a trigger for continuation. For shorts, it's bearish flips. So that's the update today. If you want to stay tuned on the markets, look for scalp trades and even more. The newsletter is giving you insights in the markets 3 times a week. Link is down beneath. Also, if you want to trade my portfolio or learn how to trade profitable in the markets, check out the membership beneath as well. We are improving a lot in the coming period. $99 a month, easy to sign up. So that's definitely the place to start building. Don't do stupid shit. Make sure to follow me on Twitter. Make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Like it as well. And I'll see you again tomorrow.